Our solar system is a very big and busy place. There are millions of objects moving around, and each year we're finding more and more that call the solar system home. While astronomers had found all 8 planets, they now think they have discovered an unknown 9th planet. So, are there really hidden planets somewhere out there that we haven't seen? Well, if you're wondering this, then stay tuned, because today we'll be looking at hidden planets in our own solar system. But before we go deeper, first, let's understand what actually makes a planet. Well, first of all, the word planet isn't an English word. It actually comes from the Old Greek term planets, which meant wanderer. People in ancient times, long before telescopes, noticed that a few bright points in the sky didn't stay fixed like the stars. They slowly shifted position from night to night, so they called them wandering stars. But today, astronomers use stricter rules. In 2006, the International Astronomical Union said a planet in our solar system must orbit the sun, be large enough for gravity to make it round, and control the space around its orbit. If an object can't do that last part, it doesn't qualify as a planet, which is exactly why Pluto was reclassified. Planet 9, the hidden giant at the edge of our solar system. Now, most people usually get confused when they hear planetx, which is sometimes used in the same breath as Planet 9. They sound like the same thing, but the history behind them is a little messy. Planetx is basically the older name. That idea goes all the way back to the early 1900s, when astronomers thought something unseen might be tugging on Uranus. Planet 9, on the other hand, is the modern version of the mystery, a specific planet proposed in 2016 by Caltech astronomers Konstantin Batygin and Mike Brown. And no, they didn't actually spot it through a telescope. That part matters. What they found was evidence, not a photograph. They noticed that several small icy bodies far beyond Neptune seemed to move in strangely similar orbits. That should not really happen by accident. These objects, sitting deep in the Kuiper Belt and beyond, appeared to be clustering in a way that hinted at some large hidden object pulling on them from a distance, like an invisible bully rearranging everyone else's lockers. That possible bully became Planet 9. If it exists, it would be a big world, not a tiny rock floating in the dark, but something roughly 5 to 10 times the mass of Earth and around Neptune's size. Its orbit would be wildly stretched out, far more extreme than the neat paths most of us picture when we think about planets. On average, it could sit 20 to 30 times farther from the Sun than Neptune, and one full trip around the Sun might take somewhere between 10,000 and 20,000 years. That is not a year. That is a commitment. The reason scientists take the idea seriously is that Planet 9 could explain several odd things at once. It may account for why some long-period Kuiper Belt objects are tilted by about 20 degrees compared with the main planetary plane. It could explain why certain distant objects seem grouped in similar orbital directions. It may also help explain a strange population of highly inclined trans-Neptunian bodies, and even some objects that move in retrograde orbits between the giant planets. In other words, this possible planet keeps showing up as the missing piece in a lot of awkward cosmic puzzles. So, is it actually real? Well, this is hard to answer because actually there are several. First, Planet 9 has not been discovered. That is still the truth. It remains hypothetical, and there is real debate in the scientific community about whether it exists at all. Some astronomers argue that the clustering of those distant objects may not be caused by a hidden planet, but they think it could come from observational bias. Basically, we like to find objects in the parts of the sky we search most effectively, so the pattern may look more meaningful than it really is. and that debate has only gotten sharper. Later discoveries, including objects like 2017 OF201 and 2023 KQ14, have raised new questions because their orbits do not fit neatly with the earlier pattern. If Planet 9 is out there, it now has more explaining to do. The story also brushes right up against Pluto because, of course, Pluto refuses to leave this kind of drama alone. Pluto was once considered the 9th planet, but after the IAU changed the definition of a planet. Back in 2006, Pluto was reclassified as a dwarf planet. That left the 9th slot empty, at least in our imagination. So, when Badigian and Brown proposed a new giant world in 2016, the nickname Planet 9 arrived almost instantly. As for what it would actually be called if someone finally finds it, and that decision would not belong to the people who predicted it. Formal naming rights go to the actual discoverer, and the final name would need approval from the IAU. Traditionally, planets get names from Roman or Greek mythology, so it probably won't end up being called Steve. The search is still going. Powerful telescopes like Keck and Subaru have been involved, and a NASA-backed citizen science project called Backyard Worlds. Planet 9 has invited the public to help search through infrared images from the WISE mission. Future observations from the Rubin Observatory may also help by finding more distant Kuiper Belt objects and showing whether their orbits really are being shepherded by something massive. So where does that leave Planet 9? In a strange place, honestly. It is one of the most fascinating ideas in planetary astronomy, but it is still an idea. Planet Y, a new mystery lurking in the outer solar system. While Planet 9 is a hypothetical planet, it's not the only strange possibility scientists have been talking about. In recent years, another idea has started making the rounds in astronomy circles, something researchers have begun calling Planet Y. The concept appeared in a study published in 2025 in the journal Monthly Notices of the Royal Astronomical Society. A research team led by Amir Siraj, who is an astrophysicist at Princeton University, noticed something weird while examining the paths of dozens of icy objects beyond Neptune. These distant bodies belong to the Kuiper Belt, which is basically a vast region packed with leftover debris and other unknown materials from the early solar system. When the team analyzed the orbits of about 50 Kuiper Belt objects, they found that many of them shared an odd tilt. Instead of following the same flat plane as most of the planets, their paths were angled by roughly 15 degrees. Well, that might not sound exciting, but in celestial mechanics, even a small tilt like that can raise serious questions. So, after that, Siraj and his colleagues started looking for explanations. They said, maybe the objects had influenced each other, or maybe a past stellar flyby had nudged them. But when they ran the numbers, one explanation kept coming back to the top of the list: a hidden planet pulling on them from a distance. That possible world became known as Planet Y. Unlike Planet 9, which is often imagined as a large Neptune-like planet several times heavier than Earth, so Planet Y would likely be much smaller. Based on the team's calculations, its mass could fall somewhere between Mercury and Earth. In other words, this would probably be a rocky planet, not a giant gas world. Its location would also be different. Planet Y is thought to orbit somewhere between 100 and 200 times farther from the Sun than Earth does. That sounds incredibly distant. And it is. But in solar system terms, it actually places the object far closer than the proposed orbit of Planet 9, which could sit more than 400 astronomical units from the Sun. Even at that distance, though, spotting such a planet would be very difficult. That's because sunlight reaching that far out is faint, and a small rocky world would reflect very little of it back toward Earth. On top of that, and researchers suspect the planet's orbit could be tilted by as much as 10 degrees compared with the main planetary plane. That slight misalignment might help explain why it has remained hidden so far. Still, the researchers themselves are careful about how they actually describe their work. Now, this is not a confirmed discovery. Siraj has openly stated that the study doesn't reveal a planet, it reveals a puzzle. The orbital patterns suggest that a planet could be the best explanation, but the evidence is far from conclusive. And plenty of astronomers remain cautious. For example, Samantha Lawler, an astronomer at the University of Regina, who has previously questioned the Planet 9 idea, pointed out that the study relies on a relatively small sample of Kuiper Belt objects. With so few data points, some patterns can sometimes appear stronger than they really are. Other researchers, such as Patrick Sophia Likauka of Kindai University in Japan, have said the idea is plausible, but still needs far more observational support. In other words, Planet Y currently sits in the same category as Planet 9. Fortunately, the search for answers may not take decades. A powerful new facility in Chile, the Vera C. Rubin Observatory, has begun scanning the night sky using the largest digital camera ever built for astronomy. Over the next 10 years, this observatory will map huge portions of the southern sky and could discover thousands of new Kuiper Belt objects. If those new discoveries follow the same tilted pattern, the case for Planet Y could grow stronger. And if the planet happens to lie within the telescope's field of view, then the Rubin Observatory might even spot it directly. Of course, the opposite outcome is also possible. If the predicted patterns fail to appear, the entire idea could collapse just as quickly as it arrived. For now, Planet Y is one more mystery sitting quietly at the edge of the solar system. Another reminder that even in our own cosmic backyard, there are still corners we barely understand. Planets beyond Neptune. Planet Y or Planet 9 are not the only possibilities scientists have considered while staring into the far edge of the solar system. Over the last 2 centuries, astronomers have floated several ideas about hidden worlds lurking beyond Neptune. Some of them sound reasonable, but some do not. One of the most famous candidates was Tyche. The idea appeared in 1999 when astrophysicists John Matisse and Daniel Whitmire examined the paths of long-period comets. These comets arrive from the Oort cloud, a distant sphere of icy leftovers that may stretch tens of thousands of astronomical units from the Sun. So, in theory, comets from that region should appear from random directions. But Matisse and Whitmire believed they noticed a slight pattern, as if something massive far away was disturbing them. Their proposed answer was Tyche, a gas giant possibly similar to Jupiter. If it existed, it would orbit incredibly far out, roughly 15,000 astronomical units from the Sun, nearly a quarter of a light year away. One lap around the Sun would take about 1.8 million years. So, at that distance, sunlight would be so weak that Tyche would glow mainly from leftover heat trapped inside the planet. But Tyche was not the only suggestion astronomers have made. Over the years, other possible planets have been proposed. Some researchers have argued for a Mars or Earth-sized planet sitting somewhere between 100 and 200 astronomical units, which might help explain the strange structure of the Kuiper Belt. Others have suggested that several rogue planets, worlds that once wandered between the stars, might have been captured by the Sun's gravity and now drift far beyond the known planets. There was even speculation about objects responsible for features like the Kuiper Cliff, a sudden drop-off in objects around 48 astronomical units from the Sun. Some models suggested a hidden planet could be shaping that region by gravitationally scattering smaller bodies. Still, astronomy likes to favor evidence over imagination. When NASA's WISE infrared telescope completed its sky survey, the data showed that a large gas giant like Tyche was not there. That effectively closed the case on that particular theory. But the bigger question remains open. The outer solar system is enormous, dark, and still poorly mapped. Thousands of distant objects have already been discovered there, and new telescopes continue to reveal more every year. So even if Tyche does not exist, the search for hidden planets in our solar system is far from finished. Well, that's it from us. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe. We'll catch you soon.